Stand by. Uh,
Tropical storm Alex is off the East Coast and moving away to the east northeast, heading for Bermuda on Monday, but it is actually doing us a big favor today as we've got nice weather up and down the eastern seaboard thanks to Alex and its circulation pulling it down. We have, well, looks like a busy weather week ahead with a weather system coming in for the middle of the week. And then does gloom and doom loom
Gloom
large
and
for next?
doom.
Yes, gloom and doom. Does it loom large for next weekend? So much to tell you about today on the Joe and Joe Weather Show.
You
How
want
are
to know
you?
why it's going to be gloom and doom? You want to know why it's going to be gloom and doom next weekend? It's that because my lovely wife, who's not here, she's on her way to the German American Club Spring Fest, and she said, "quote Don't you dare even think about having lousy weather this whole weekend because if you do, no dinner for this week,
Oh
this
God,
entire week."
that's a threat. That's a threat if
So
there
we
ever
have
was one.
we're gonna have great weather for the fest today, and all the great weather we have this weekend is going to be flipped over. And so, as lovely as the weather has been this weekend, next weekend, well, you know, Joe, it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, you are in charge of the bounce house, and I will tell you that I would love to be able to go into the bounce house. However, we're still, how shall we say, incapacitated.
The procedure was 100% a number one on Friday morning, I presume.
Yes, in fact, and I I don't quite understand this, but uh, so anyone that I have talked to who has had something like this has always said to me how painful it is the days after, as you know you've got surgery on your ankle and everything, or your foot, or your leg, or whatever it is, and so I anticipated that I was going to be in you know in shooting pains all week, all weekend. I have not had any issues whatsoever from that standpoint. I have discomfort from wearing this boot that I have on. Those of you who don't know, I severely dislocated my ankle to the point where the doctor was actually shocked that I didn't shatter my entire leg with this. But fortunately, that didn't happen. But the it's been great. I mean, it's been great. I talked to one of my close friends yesterday who said, just wait, because when the nerve blockers wear off and everything else, you're gonna be in pain. And well, now it's 72 hours. The nerve blockers have worn off. The only thing I guess the only thing I'm having some issue with, and not all the time. So I had a great night's sleep Friday night into Saturday morning. For some reason, last night and this into this morning, I woke up several times. I was tossing and turning, which is very difficult to do when you have your leg wrapped up in a boot in a bed. Going back from the bed to the couch to the bed. But other than that, it's been a good, you know, it, so far so good. And the fact that he told me I could start putting weight on it already was actually a totally unexpected surprise for me. So fingers crossed that it does that this continues.
Yeah, it sounds like you got the better end of the deal. I mean, you're one of those exceptions or whatever, and Lord only knows after all of what you've been through since December that you actually deserve a bit of a break. I think.
Oh yeah, I mean that's basically I've been out of kilter for 8 months. So it's
Yeah,
just that in one form or
yeah.
another. But I must give high praise to the Pixley Animal Hospital for taking me in, and we're doing their work. They they laid the they laid the horses aside and they took me first, so I
Oh,
was
oh,
it was
oh
all
God.
very good. Yep. All good. So, uh, yes, Chuck Cardillo, great news, definitely great news, and David Schwartz bringing up the fact that mentioning about gloom and doom maybe for next weekend. That it's going to open up the can of worms for our dear, sweet, loving friend Sal Blandino, who is probably right now uh, just burying
Pulling his hair
himself.
out.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. We're not allowed to have
yeah.
we're not even allowed to have clouds anymore. So I'm hoping that yesterday and today, and by the way, not just for you, the weather here, I really just absolutely gorgeous. 54 this morning, Joe. 54. The humidity, I don't know. I didn't even look at the dew points, but they have to be really low. It is so comfortable and so dry outside. Not that we've really had that many humid days anyway, but it's just absolutely delightful here in North Georgia.
I'm just looking here on my Facebook page, and I have somebody here who sent me a bunch of images. Images sent in message requests are covered. Click to see blurred image. Of course, naturally, I'm not going to click
Yeah,
because I never heard of this person before. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm sorry if this took my. I mean, I'm just flicking around here while you're talking, and I'm not gonna deal with this. Anyway, we might as well enjoy it while it lasts. I hope.
Calling Dr. Bombay, emergency,
Oh
come right
yes.
away.
Well, we're not gonna be doing anything with that. I just turned the volume down.
Oh, good.
Anyway, so what do we need to talk about today, other than the fact that it's great now, but it's gonna get later
Yeah,
on this week.
yeah. The pattern. I was looking at some of the teleconnections, and as every day has passed since we last were on, the teleconnections have shifted somewhat. The Pacific North America Index, the PNA, is going a little more positive. The NAO is actually going a little more negative, and I think that might spell issues for next weekend with one of these systems that's going to go deep to our south and then kind of swing up and around. Now, the details aren't worked out yet, obviously, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be, you know, a wipeout from start to finish. We'll have to sort of work out the timing. The one good thing is I don't see something cutting off and separating itself from the main flow, so at least whatever we get will move along. But it is going to be timed out for a weekend. The other thing is it's a little complicated, I think, for later Tuesday into early Thursday because you got another one of these situations where you have sort of a lead trough that comes east, and then a second arm drops down. So you get a cold front that tries to come through Tuesday night, stalls out. Then you have to wait for the wave to develop on it, and brings probably another round of showers and storms later on Wednesday into Wednesday night. But you know what? Tomorrow looks great. Tuesday, I think the start of the day might be okay. The finish might not be. Thursday and Friday look good. And maybe the timing would be that Saturday day side would be okay before we get into rain, maybe late Saturday, Saturday night, and Sunday for next weekend. At least that's how I'm thinking of it for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England down to northern Virginia.
I'm thinking about the same too. And not next weekend. No, it's not. The following
The
weekend will
following
be
weekend.
Father's Day.
The following
Father's Day
weekend,
weekend.
following weekend is the Father's Day weekend, where every year the your whoever your wife is says to you, "What would you like to do for Father's Day?" And you basically tell them, "I would like to be left alone." And they will respond by saying, "You couldn't possibly be happy by doing what it is you want to do. No, I'm going to tell you what you need to be doing in order to be happy for Father's Day."
Yes.
I've always found it amazing how for Mother's Day there's this sort of, oh, we have to take her out to dinner or breakfast or whatever. Not that those are necessarily bad things; they are necessarily very expensive things to take somebody out on one of those holidays. But uh, for Father's Day, you ask most dads, okay, If you ask the vast majority of fathers would say, I just want to be left alone. I want to be able to watch baseball. I want to be able to watch hockey. I have said for years, I have gone every year on Father's Day. I have gone to Belmont Park to spend the day at the racetrack. And you know what, Joe? One of these years, I may actually get to do it because I, that's what I've always wanted to do, and I never got to do it because it was always along the lines of no. I'm going to tell you what you need to be doing for Father's Day. So,
Yes.
I just give up.
Speaking speaking of Belmont, next Saturday is the Belmont Stakes,
That's
and
correct.
from what I can see on the weather charts for next Saturday, it's weather that only a mudder can love.
Well, it's going to depend on the timing. If the rain holds off until early evening, then it shouldn't be a problem. But if it comes in faster, yeah, then it's going to affect handicapping and betting. So that's something I'll probably be paying a little bit of attention to as we get there. Meanwhile, let's look at Tropical Storm Alex because this Alex, in my opinion, I mean, it behaved pretty much the way it was indicated. I think the models did a really good job. We talked last week about the fact that the circulation in the Gulf of Mexico was very broad, that it was just going to be a big rain event for South Florida, which it was, and that once it moved offshore the east coast of Florida, it would get an opportunity to tighten up and maybe get a little bit of influence from some what we call baroclinic influence, or basically that's the energy that fires up non-tropical systems, and I think that's what you're seeing here. You've got you obviously have a low-level circulation. It's a bit open it's somewhat open on the west side because of all the dry air that it's pulling down from eastern Canada and dragging it right down the east coast. But there's it's got 60-mile-an-hour winds based on the last reconnaissance flight, and Bermuda's under a tropical storm warning, and they're going to get heavy rains and winds during the day tomorrow. But this was one of those instances where it worked out perfectly for the East Coast because of where it's positioned and what it's doing on the backside. Not all tropical storms have necessarily negative outcomes, and for much of the East, it's been, except for Florida, South Florida, it's been a rather positive outcome for this weekend.
It's not often that you can actually look and say something good about a tropical system, be it a tropical storm or a hurricane, but you're absolutely right. It does work in our favor, at least this go around. Whether or not we're going to make payment on this favor later on in the summer is yet to be seen.
Yeah, I would just say that I think if we keep seeing these teleconnections pointing to there's this sort of stubbornness with the NAO being negative, and if we keep seeing that the PNA trending more toward positive, I mean that's something that we're going to have to pay attention to when we get deeper into the season. But at least for now, this was one of those systems that wound up forming, and it clicks a name off the list, and now it moves away. Otherwise, the other thing it's doing is it's creating a traffic jam. It can't. The systems to the west, and you see the showers and thunderstorms that they've been going on in the Central Plains. They're happening again today. We've got a solid blow up there this morning, and a system coming into the Pacific Northwest. They can't move. They can't move east until Alex gets out of the way. So uh, we're okay into early Tuesday, as I said earlier.
And the other thing that we should take note of now, hmm, I was about to say something concerning the list of tropical names and tropical systems that we're going to be going through this year. This, of course, is the same list of names more or less that we had 6 years ago. And I'm trying to remember 6 years ago what of that list was the most significant or most substantial, and if it had any say in our weather. But Joe, as you have mentioned here many times before, as we get older, stuff that used to be like right off the top of our head and go like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You know, I can't even remember. There's some days I can't even remember 6 days ago, much less 6 years ago.
No, no, I clearly and totally understand that. Uh,
Yes.
it's just It's just what happens. Um, Hopefully, it just doesn't get too much worse than it already is. We have. Let's just run through a couple of things here on the with regards to Alex. So we've got tropical storm warnings up, as we said, for Bermuda. You can see the track, the forecast track from the Hurricane Center is basically on a northeast and then more of an east northeast track. Moving along south of 35 degrees north, so it never really gets pulled up into the high latitudes, and that's mainly because of the fact that you've got lower pressures up to the north that are creating westerly winds that are much further south than normal. Again, going back to that sort of blocky pattern that we have, and it moves out to the east and it goes away. Radar is crystal clear for the most part in the east. There's just a couple of showers showing up in northern Maine. But other than that, it's quiet. There's a few scattered showers off the North and South Carolina and Georgia coast. Florida is drying out nicely. There's been this thing here, and I noticed it yesterday. I think it started back up in Nebraska and Kansas. This little complex that's just been sort of crawling southeastward of showers and thunderstorms. And there's a east-west line that runs right across Oklahoma. I don't know what highway that is in northern that cuts across Oklahoma from east to west, but that line is now sitting right over the entire length of the highway, virtually from Tulsa all the way to Oklahoma City. It's not quite to Tulsa, but it's almost there. And there are a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that have popped out. And there's going to be some more later today. Got some showers. There's a little bit of a warm front that's setting up in Wisconsin and up in Michigan with some showers there. We've got showers from Nebraska northwestward up into Montana and some scattered showers also and a few patches of rain up in the Pacific Northwest. The Storm Prediction Center today has an enhanced risk of severe weather in that zone from Oklahoma to Kansas to western Nebraska with slight risk wrapped around it. And over the next couple of days, for tomorrow, we have a slight risk in southwest Kansas and on the Oklahoma Panhandle and southeastern Colorado. You see where the marginal risk is, and of course, from Maine down to South Carolina and northern Georgia, nothing, just bone dry. No thunderstorms are forecast in that zone. For Tuesday, this is Tuesday into Wednesday, and this is day 3, I believe. So Tuesday into Wednesday, there's a dry slot from southern Virginia down to the Gulf Coast where absolutely nothing is forecast. It's a little unusual to see that along the Gulf Coast. A little bit in Florida, but then you've got this slight risk zone pretty much in the same area on Tuesday into Wednesday as we're going to have it from Monday into Tuesday. And then opening up the possibility of some general thunderstorm activity moving into parts of the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic and back to the Ohio Valley. And that's that weather front that's going to come through first on Tuesday, try to come through late Tuesday night. And then, as I said, we have to wait for the second arm to come around to force another wave to develop on it on Wednesday.
It almost looks at first glance when you start looking, let's say, beyond Wednesday. You see, here's this cold front coming in from the west, and you say, okay, that's great. Cold front comes in, sweeps on through, dry and fair weather for Friday into the weekend. But unfortunately, the way the upper air is situated, the front does kind of wobble in here later on in the week and then kind of just stalls out and provides the pathway for not one but two mints in one. No, two waves of low pressure, which move up along it and thoroughly fuguzzle, if there's such a word, our upcoming weekend, next weekend.
Yeah.
Sometimes things are not the way they could be, and unfortunately, in this case, we are going to, I think, pay the price for what a. I mean, we're going to have another beautiful day today. Overall, a lovely, lovely weekend, but unfortunately, the fiddler is going to come knocking next weekend, and yes, Mr. Blandino is not going to like the sound or the looks of what's coming our way
No.
later next weekend.
The WPC has beefed up their rainfall amounts. So this is for the entire week. So you're talking about Tuesday, Wednesday, and Wednesday night, and late Tuesday into Wednesday night. And then also, this actually takes us into Sunday morning of next weekend. and showing at least an inch and a half of total precip for much of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, southern and interior southern New England and southeastern New England, uh, down into parts of the Delmarva Peninsula. Kind of tails off a little bit from Virginia, North and South Carolina, mostly more toward the coast than inland. Then there's another band from uh, eastern Tennessee that goes right through into the Central Plains and across the Middle Mississippi Valley of anywhere from an inch and a half to maybe some spots of 2 to 3 inches, and then some active weather up in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm going to run through. I got the GFS up, and I'm going to run through that, and we'll take a look at. First, I'll take a look at the surface. Then we're going to switch to the upper air and see what's going on. So here's Alex. On the GFS, and you see it there off the southeast coast, and of course it running east northeast, and we're in good shape here. Can't get my maps to move for some reason. Whoops, there we go. Are you with me, Joe?
I'm still here.
Okay, I just heard a weird beep. Okay, so
Beep.
yes, exactly. So there goes the low, kind of straddles out east northeast. You'll notice there's this high that's up in New Hampshire and Vermont and southeastern Canada. So just sort of that high just sort of wraps around like a giant kidney bean wrapping around Alex and keeping things nice and locked in here and dry. Here comes the front for Tuesday. Now, you look at this and you think, okay, we're about to be clobbered with showers and thunderstorms, but the problem is that this first upper air trough that's swinging through the Great Lakes is pretty far to the north and west, so those showers and storms kind of tail off a little bit as we go into Tuesday afternoon and evening. That's why you see them weakening as they move eastward. So I'm not so sure how much we're going to wind up getting with the front once it goes by. But again, it gets hung up because there's another area that of the other upper trough that's coming down, and you see it there producing showers and storms on Wednesday morning in Wisconsin down into Arkansas and Oklahoma. Now that's going to swing east, and that's going to fire up a wave, and you see it there in West Virginia moving into eastern PA. Now, I thought, Joe, this opens up the possibility because of how this low is tracking, and there might be a little bit of daytime heating going on Thursday with the southwest flow. SBC, I think, has predictability too low on their long range. I really didn't, think that they were going to put anything now, but I'm wondering whether because you have this low, the low's going to drop down into the 990s by the time it gets up into New England. I think it might fire up some stronger thunderstorms Wednesday evening and Wednesday night as it goes by. The GFS at least does have a fairly impressive stick of moisture there, showing the way it depicts the radar. So maybe we might have some severe weather risks to contend with late Wednesday into Wednesday night as this moves on through.
Too bad we can't send any of this moisture to the southwest, which I noticed on your look from the WPC, the 7-day outlook for precipitation. There's still nothing really happening over the southwest. And having just been there and having seen many rivers that are now just, they're not even rivers anymore. I mean, they really do need moisture in the worst way possible. And they're not going to see anything, a continuation of that. Meanwhile, as you just pointed out here in the East, Joe, I mean, yeah, the potential does, I think, I agree with you, does exist, I think, for some activity, some convective activity, some possible strong to maybe even severe convective activity here as we get on into midweek. So we'll see how that all pans out. I do notice that on day 5, they do have, I think, part of the Central Plain states outlined for possible severe weather. That's what? That's Tuesday,
I
Wednesday.
think that's
That's Thursday of next week.
Thursday into
Yeah.
Friday, and that's the system that's going to set up for the weekend. And as you notice, after Wednesday night system moves out, Thursday and Friday look fine. But here comes energy, and this is pretty. This is really very far south. How often do you see a low developing in southern Georgia in early June? That's going to
Right.
come up the eastern seaboard, but this is what happens with the troughing in the east and that negative NAO, positive PNA going on. But here we have a low on the GFS uh, in southern Georgia that moves right up along the coastal plain to Chesapeake Bay, and you can see the rains that it brings up. Now, this is Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., so that's why I'm thinking maybe the dayside Saturday will be okay. And even at 8 p.m., there's not a whole lot of rain here yet, but it's after that into Sunday morning that we wind up seeing some heavy rains. And actually, because of how it's tracking the low and sort of stretching it out northeast southwest, that the back edge of the rain is still there Sunday afternoon, and we've got a northeast wind on top of it. So I think this is going to be one of those situations that we could see 70s to near 80 perhaps on Saturday with sunshine and arriving clouds. But when this thing gets underway, and if it winds up tracking like this, next Sunday could be a pretty raw day, maybe upper 50s to mid 60s for highs, in my view, with
Yeah.
something like this. Water temperatures at least have warmed up, but that doesn't prevent it from getting, as I said, gloom and doom, raw, and maybe even a little bit on the breezy side as the low goes by, and then weather conditions improve. So um, you may be asking yourselves, well, why is this happening? Well, why is anything happening? It's all about change and weather patterns that are dynamic and moving around, and we seem to be in a situation here where the northern latitudes are warming faster than the southern latitudes, and as a result, I mean, you look at this upper air. I'll just roll it back. Let me just roll it back just a little bit. I mean, you have look at how far this is for this weekend where we're sitting right now. Look at how far south everything is. I mean, I actually drew those that what you're seeing there. I actually drew that yesterday, and I'm just matching it up with the new run. You've got lower than normal pressures all across the lower 48 states. In the Pacific, you've got a cutoff in the Gulf of Alaska, a cutoff sitting south of the Aleutians. In the Atlantic, you have a cutoff east of Newfoundland. So you've got all this. The jet is so far south. And meanwhile, you've got higher than normal pressures in northern Canada, northern Labrador, southern Greenland. It's it's a complete flip of what you would like, what you normally might start to see this time of year. Not that this is highly unusual, but you don't get too blocky like this too often. And then going forward for next weekend, once again, this is Wednesday into Thursday. Uh, Tuesday, you could barely find the trough that's coming by, as we mentioned. Then the second arm comes around for Wednesday night into Thursday. That pulls out, and then as that pulls out, take a look. Another arm forms right in here, down in the Ohio Valley. This is next Saturday night. So anything that develops at the surface to the south has got no place to go but move up the East Coast. And it is going to be non-tropical in nature, in case I'm anticipating that question. Uh, and then
Yeah.
after and then after that goes out, come on. Oh, I love when it gets stuck on one circle of death on one particular hour. Once that pulls out, you start to see a little bit of a change because a ridge is forecast to build across the south and a big upper high there sitting over Oklahoma and Kansas. I mean, we still have, though, a northwest flow here, and we still have troughing east of uh, going to the east from New England on eastward south of Greenland. And this would suggest to me, Joe, that it's going to mean hot weather coming into the middle of the country uh, come Father's Day weekend, but we're still going to be kind of in a trough position here just off the East Coast. It'll be dry, but it ain't getting hot here with something like this. At least not in the short and medium range.
We'll see how this all pans out, but I think from looking at, quickly looking at the pattern over time, I think maybe the first half of June might end up being for our part of the country now, the Northeast, kind of coolish, not overly cool, but coolish, along with above normal amounts of moisture, above normal precipitation. But then maybe, just maybe, as we get to the mid, or maybe more like the latter part of the month,
Yeah.
we'll see a flip to drier and noticeably warmer
Yeah,
conditions.
kind of
The
like
first half of June,
what happened in May.
yeah, the first half of June is not going to be busting out all over. It's going to be dripping out all over, so to speak. But
Yeah.
it's not the best. But with time, things do get better. Unfortunately for us, we may have to wait until the latter part of this month before things start, or there may be some semblance of things getting better.
The
I have a piece of good. I mean, you mentioned gloom and doom or whatever, and I do want to inject one uh, bit of good news here, and that's from our friend Chuck Cardillo on the chat board, who made note of the fact that he is a very proud father today. I mean, all of us will be proud fathers in a couple of weeks on Father's Day, but he today is a proud Father's Day because his son Michael won Fireman of the Year award yesterday for Delaware County, New York, at Delhi, and we want to congratulate him. That is a uh, for that is a job. His son has that job, Fireman of the Year, and that's a great thing to get, a great thing to win because that is not exactly the easiest job in the world. Those guys, when you think about it, they we don't know what they face on any given day, but on any given day, if necessary, as we saw on 9/11, they will put their life on the line. So, congratulations, Chuck, to your son, Michael, and we're all very, very happy for you and for him on this day.
yeah. I see Billy the Kid is on, so it's back to the apocalypse again. Um, anyway, uh, let's. I'm just going to run real quick through the teleconnections, and we're seeing. Uh, take a look at the PNA, and the PNA, which is positive right now, and actually goes positive and kind of hangs there, goes a little bit negative toward the end of the forecast period. Okay. The NAO, on the other hand, is negative right now and goes up toward the neutral line, and that's probably going to time out close to next weekend or just a little bit before that. And oftentimes, when you have, you look for these instances where when the NAO likes to bottom out in a negative position and then rushes up toward the neutral line, that's usually a sign of something developing someplace because you're seeing what it's telling you is that there's a big pressure change that's occurring opposite of what the general pattern is at the moment. So if you're at high pressure, you're going to be going to low pressure. If you're at low pressure, you're going to be going to high pressure. So it just sort of flips the atmosphere around, and it goes slightly positive, and then it starts to curve back toward the neutral line after around June 19th or 20th. Now, I would just point out that when you get into the summer months, the NAO can act a little bit differently in terms of the outcomes. And if you get a negative NAO, that often can cause hot weather to occur in the eastern part of the United States, depending on what's going on the Pacific side. So I just wanted to bring that particular point up. It's not always about blocking. It's not always about setting up with onshore flow. Sometimes in summer, if you get the negative NAO with the Pacific in a certain, doing a certain position, you're going to wind up with some hot and humid weather in the eastern part of the United States. Not saying that that's going to happen, but just pointing that out that there are options. Um, here's a quite here. Billy's avoiding me now. Says Joe. He wants to know. Did you read the study that in a warmer world, clouds would contain less water than previously thought. Clouds would thin out, and many would not form at all. I have not heard this. I don't know how they come up with these things. You know, how, I mean, there's no way for them to know for sure because all they're doing this is off computer modeling, and as we know, computer modeling is flawed. It's not 100% perfect. So I would think that the logic would be exactly the opposite.
I have not seen this study, and he's talking about a doubling of atmospheric CO2. Do you realize what that means, Joe? To double the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? I mean, the atmosphere, this globe of ours is pretty big, and that atmosphere that surrounds this globe is also pretty large. And you're talking about completely doubling all of the CO2, and
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen like that. I don't care how many factories there are or whatever like that. That's going to take some time. And actually, we look at a planet like Venus. which has a tremendous amount of CO2. I mean, you talk about a runaway greenhouse effect on Venus. And what is Venus filled with? Clouds. Clouds of not only CO2, but also sulfuric acid. It rains sulfuric acid, the stuff that you find in your car battery on the planet Venus. Let's
Well,
hope it
that's
doesn't
that's
come to
great.
that.
That's great for exfoliation. Uh,
Yes,
if
exactly.
you want to get you want to get a nice exfoliation so that you look good and you look younger. That'd be perfect for that. Um,
Lovely.
so what's he saying now? We need to prepare a new deal on reducing green. Can we just stop? Do you ever have anything positive to say? Do you ever have? I can't stand. You know what it is, Joe? You know what it is? I've had people like him in my life, and I've gotten rid of them. Okay, I've gotten rid of those people because
Billy,
I cannot be around people like that. I just can't.
Billy the Kid must.
God
Billy the Kid gets
Almighty.
the Reuben. He gets the Mr. Reuben Fairchild Award. And I might add, by the way, that Mr. Reuben Fairchild disappeared off of the chat board and apparently off the face of the earth about 1 year ago. This particular time frame, 1 year ago, and
Has it only been one
I,
year? I mean, it seemed like
I think it's
yesterday.
been about a year. I think it's been
Yeah,
about a year.
I
Leon
guess.
Pravitsky, Leon
Yeah,
Pravitsky, thank you for hitting super chat with your KO. He looks like Peter Potamus with a he hit with KO with an uppercut or whatever. So
Billy just said that he keeps losing audio. It's probably just as well. Anyway,
oh,
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I've said
well,
it.
I'll tell you what, Joe. I'd like to continue, but I'm under the threat of
I know.
Mrs. Rayo,
I know, which
who
means that
now
you.
is at the. I have to go to the second day of the German American Club of Peekskills Spring Fest, and this year, all these other years, I've always been assigned a position or assigned a job at these fests. I've been behind the help desk. I've done a number of other different duties there. This year, she found one spot which nobody wanted, and she said, "You're going to do this." And I was at the bounce house, this gigantic inflatable house in which kids of 2, 3, 4, 5. We even had a couple of kids who were like in their late teens. She said, "Can we go in there?" You go in there and you kind of like bounce up and down and all over the. And guess who has the great privilege of running that bounce house? And since the fest begins in 20 minutes, if I'm not there when the fest opens, no dinner for me this week.
Yes, exactly. So, as a matter of fact, we're going to wrap up the show now because I have my friends are coming over. They're going to be putting
I'm
a.
in the official, as you can see, I'm wearing the official German American T-shirt to you know conform with everything. So yeah, you got friends. I've got the fest. If any of you are in the vicinity of 11 Cramer's Pond Road in Putnam Valley, come out and meet one half of the storied Joe and Joe show because that's where I'm going to be for the next, good Lord, 7 hours.
Yeah, yeah. My friends are coming over because they're going to put a run line from out in the yard to the front door so that I can put JJ on the run line so I don't have to walk him. So and then I can have him at home because not having my dog here is
Now,
difficult.
but
It's
in terms of the
very
run
difficult.
line, but then are they going to physically bring the dog?
Not until after the run line is done. And then after they
Okay.
probably bring him tomorrow or Tuesday. Probably
Could you
tomorrow.
possibly have a video camera running when this great moment occurs when you and he are both reunited?
Yes.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
I'm just going to tell Billy the Kid because he says he's worried about future generations. No, you're not. You're worried. You know, you sit there and you worry about stuff that you can't change. I don't understand what the point is. You're wasting energy. Why don't you focus on the fact that you've got time here with the people that are around you and enjoy that time? Let them worry about the problems down the road. This is not your concern anymore. It's not my concern. It's not Joe Rayo's concern. You are wasting energy and time, and it's pissing me off. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye.
Better to be
Off
pissed off
than
than
pissed
pissed
on.
on.
Good night.
All
See
right.
y'all
Good
tomorrow at
night.
7:30. Bye.
Bye.